May I call upon the stage Mr. Raju Wadalkar, Chief Technology Officer, Tech Mahindra. Prior to holding the designation of the Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Wadalkar was the Senior VP at Tech Mahindra. He headed the Network Technology Solutions and Services Group that provides revenue-enhancing NGN solutions and network services that optimize network spend. Previously, Sir was a Senior VP at Putney Computers, where he headed the global delivery and solutions for communications, media, and utilities vertical. He also co-founded 3Genesis in 1999 to provide high-end telecom solutions to telcos. 3Genesis was acquired by APAR in 2001, which in turn merged with Nest Technologies, and Sir was heading the Mumbai Development Center for Nest. Sir, SITM welcomes you to Communicate Well. Mr. Wadalkar is going to address the congregation on the topic, the advent of NGN in India and its effect on the telecom and ICT industry. I request Sir to preside over the session.
Good afternoon, friends. It's a great pleasure to be here and share my thoughts on what is beyond next generation networks. And I must thank Sunil for giving me this opportunity. And Anshu has made my life easier because he has laid out the future, so I can restrict myself to the ground level technologies, being a CTO. I'm going to start this on a little different note, unusual note, actually with a confession. So let me lay out a background before I actually get to that. We have over the past years a string of spectacular failures in technology. Actually, that's the wrong thing, not technology. It's a business that failed, not the technology, right? Technology has always worked. So in late 1980s, that tells you how old I am, if I can go back to late 1980s. So around 1988, I think the ISDN was invented. And I'm sure you all know what is ISDN is. It was Integrated Services Digital Network, right? And what it did, fantastic technology. What it did was you had in the background all these different networks, TDM for voice, X25 or some other network for data, and telex networks, and all these other networks, it was pretty complicated. But what ISDN did was get a beautiful pair of cables, a simple 2+D interface into your home, where you could connect multiple devices and do your voice, data, video, whatever you wanted, right? Fantastic technology, but failed. And I'm personally connected to it because in early 1990s, I designed ISDN terminal, which was my baby, and somehow it didn't take off. In fact, ISDN did not take off anywhere, right? In spite of being a fantastic technology. Late 1990s, we had this satellite telephony people coming in. So you had Iridium, you had Spaceway, you had Global Star, fantastic brains in the industry, all the big 5 management consultant firms who made the business cases, made them work. You had big corporations supporting all this. In fact, Motorola's Iridium, they had 48 satellites up in the sky connecting all the ground. It worked, right? Fantastic technology. It all failed. The satellites had to be shot down and brought down to Earth because the business failed, not the technology, right? And most recently, and you might not agree with that, 3G, in my opinion, has failed in some sense, right? It did not live up to the business potential that it had, and operators paid too much money for license fees, and the business actually failed. How many of you are truly, really 3G subscribers and use 3G? If you can put up your hands. About 20%, 10-20%, right? The remaining did not feel bad. I asked the same question at a LTE conference in Mumbai some months ago, and the audience was all from telecom industry, people who worked in telcos and related industry, and less than half hands went up. And here comes the confession. Even I'm not a 3G subscriber. Okay? Why? Because I'm pretty happy with what I have. It's an edge connection. The only killer application I've seen is emails. I can do it anywhere in the world. I'm pretty well connected, right? So question is, why did all these technologies fail? And in my opinion, the failure relates to what you're going to see now, right? So the DNA of the next generation communication ecosystem is not just network technology, because that is where most of the time we focus. It's actually devices and network with applications, linking it all together. Okay? Somebody asked a question about rural thing, right? Why rural? I mean, I'm a CTO, fine, but I still don't care about what is behind and what is carrying my voice, right? I just want a reliable voice connection that will carry me from point A to point B. I don't care whether it's carried over 2.5G, 2G, or 3G, right? I just don't care. But I want a reliable service. Okay? That's what this is about. So is the ecosystem going to give a reliable service that subscribers, customers can use and pay for it? That's all. That's all it is about, right? What is it getting driven by, right? So there's a plethora of new smart devices coming up. In fact, in my opinion, this is what is driving the entire thing, because we talked about enterprise mobility, we talked about M2M, and all this technology. I remember giving a presentation on enterprise mobility almost 10 years ago, which is still being given today, right? What it means? It means the idea, the technology existed more than 10 years ago. Enterprise mobility was a reality then. So what has changed now? In my opinion, this is what has changed now, right? And if you look at iPhone launch on AT&T, that actually opened up everything, right? AT&T was taken completely by surprise because there was a massive download of data that clogged the network and did not give revenue to AT&T. Okay? It gave revenue to Apple. And you heard Tarun talking about it, right? He was very eloquent about his lifestyle and how he downloads everything from iTunes. He didn't talk about how Airtel is serving him or how Vodafone is serving him. He talked about iTunes. So he's a customer of Apple. He's not a customer of Vodafone. He's not a customer of Airtel or anybody else, right? So essentially what is happening, AT&T was converted into dumb pipe, okay? Completely dumb pipe. And they were completely taken by, this is what we call as a long tail effect of applications, right? It's a famous word there. And so things have to change. I was talking to a CTO of one of the customers, European telcos, just yesterday. And in his opinion, the next disruption is going to come from mobile internet. In today's internet is designed for desktops. It's actually not designed for mobiles. What we do today is just an adaptation of some websites and all that, and you have various technologies that you can see it on the mobile, right? But it's not really mobile internet. When it becomes mobile internet, that will be the next disruption that will happen. Right? You have BYOD, I think somebody talked about that. Bring your own device. So today, employees of corporations use latest gizmos, right? iPhone, iPad, Samsung is coming up with lot many devices. Bring it to the office, but you can't use those devices in the office, right? The office applications and office networks are not enabled to use those on the devices. So the new things that are coming up in terms of mobile device management and BYOD, bring your own device and use it. Okay? That's the next generation stuff that is happening already, right? Broadband wireless technology is evolving. You have NFC, the near field communication in the retail segment, especially, taking roots. And of course, you have the wideband technologies also coming in. You have 3G, which, like I said, I believe is really, in some sense, a business failure. And you have WiMAX, which is, somebody said, it's already, moving out. And you have LTE coming up, right? LTE is still not there. Okay, people are still talking about trials everywhere. Okay, in India, in the US, though everybody is talking about LTE, it is still trials because you still don't have devices available in abundance. Okay, people are still exploring, and I already heard about 5G. Okay? So, are we giving enough time for the technology to settle down, for people to use, for application to kind of develop and get stabilized? Because there were days in my CDOT days when you design something and put in the networks, and I'm sure Sunil will agree with that. It used to stay there for 10 to 15 years, right? It's a very long time, very slow. And today, before the operators have time to assimilate new technologies, it's not easy. It's not easy to roll out simply 3G over when you have a 2.5G network. Not easy to put in 3G. And when you haven't got money from 3G, you're already talking about 4G. I mean, believe me, operators are in a very, very tough situation here, okay? On the application side, HTML5, in my opinion, is going to drive the next generation of applications because it's going to present us a new way to present multimedia content onto this plethora of new devices that are coming up, right? It's going to be the key in terms of linking this device, network, and applications. Let's look at the other aspects, right? From the user perspective, and Anshu laid out very well where the future is going to go in terms of also consumers and all that, how you and me are, our life is going to change. What I'm talking about here is a different set of users, enterprise users, ICT segment, right? And just looking at some of the challenges that these enterprises face. So telco, I think all of us know, ARPU is definitely going down in terms of consumer segment. So telcos are trying to serve enterprise segments, but there is a challenge in enterprise segment because enterprises are, especially the large enterprises, are all over the globe. There's a multiple geo. So how to address these multi-geo enterprises is a big challenge for them. The small and medium segment is still not picked up that much. So how to serve SMBs is another challenge for telcos, right? And get revenue from them. But believe me, that is where things are going. And there's a cloud technology ideally suited for SMBs. Okay? That's where telcos are trying to go. You take anything, retail logistics, customer experience is the key. And people talk about you're walking down the aisle and you get targeted advertisements, pointers based on what is there in, on the racks here and point you to the right place so that you can pick up the stuff based on your profile. Okay? So it's about analytics, it's about intelligence in the system, it's about big data analysis and making sure you are driven to the right area to pick up whatever you want. The rest of the things are similar challenges that you have. And the question is, how are we trying to address this, right? And Tarun spoke about SMAC or SMAC. We have a slight variation here, and we within Tech Mahindra call it NMAX. Okay? So what is NMAX? You need to have, for anything to work, nowadays connectivity, right? Whether it is devices to be connected for M2M, or multiple office to be connected for enterprise services, or simple mobility solutions, you need to be connected with devices, right? And nowadays even cars are treated like a mobile. So Mobile World Congress, when I was there a few months ago, the biggest stall was not from any of the vendors or any of the telcos. It was from BMW. Right? So BMW has had the largest stall at Mobile World Congress, and so car is a mobile device itself. Okay? That's where they're going. So you need connectivity, which is the network. You need presence, which is building mobility into the applications. You need positioning, which is how do you position various products to make sure that the consumer wants it. So there's a lot of analytics involved here. There is big data, there is social analysis. It's all being taken care of in that piece. You need elasticity, so you don't know how things are growing, right? I mean, if you talk about social analytics and social data, it's just tremendous amount of data that you want to analyze, right? So there is obviously elasticity required in the infrastructure that you set up, and cloud is the only way to go. Security, end-to-end security, not just application security, but application to networks, right? So when you talk about BIOD, the key constraint right now is security in terms of making that happen, okay? So this together forms our, what I would call as the technology strategy to transform enterprise businesses, NMAX, network, mobility, analytics, cloud, security. Unless you put all this together, you will not actually really get a solution, proper solution, that will transform the enterprise business to their full potential. And when you talk about all these problems, if you look at solving these problems, you're talking about transforming enterprises. And that will not happen unless you take care of all these aspects. And it's not a must that every application or transformation you think of, all 5 must be there. That's not true. Maybe 3, maybe 2, but you got to take into account all those combinations to really come up with the right solution that will suit the problem at hand. So NMAX can actually provide multitude of applications, and people mentioned a lot of stuff here, right? In transport, telematics, in healthcare, the school records. there's a huge amount of application that is NMAX, and I'm going to show a short video at the end, a 4-minute video, that actually captures how NMAX is implemented in a real-life solution implemented in India. Right? So you don't want to go anywhere outside. In India also, we are moving ahead in terms of using all the facilities that we have and making sure that is applied to real-life problems. Let's look at what are the next generation technology areas that, and this has been already talked about. I think it's pretty open that everybody knows about it. So we believe that this is where most of the business growth and business demand is coming from, and these are the areas to focus on. So just few examples when you talk about unified content for devices. What does it mean? It means, just one example, I'm sitting at home watching TV in the morning, if I get time in the morning, I normally don't have. I get up to go to the office. Whatever I'm watching is interesting. I don't want to lose that. So it transfers automatically to my mobile. I sit in the car, I keep watching the program, go to the office, and it transfers into my desktop. Hopefully in the office it's allowed to watch some interesting programs, and then you can keep on watching, right? So that's a scenario, and it is not a futuristic scenario. We have actually implemented a similar solution in Bahrain, in a smart city. It exists, right? Talk about OTT and CDN video, over-the-top delivery. It's all about this battle between operators and over-the-top players like Apple, Google, Amazon. And essentially, what is Google? Google is the biggest network operator. If you look at what they have today, they are the biggest network operators in the world. And they are actually rolling out a fiber network in the US very quietly, not making too much noise about it, but they are a network operator. Okay? But they do play by over-the-top rules. Look at IPv6. In fact, in India itself, DOT has taken upon itself to drive IPv6 implementation into the industry. And we are working very closely with DOT. We, in fact, had the applications working group with DOT on IPv6. Singapore is driving IPv6 in a huge way because they believe that this is the next generation services platform that, you know that Singapore economy is all about services. Right now it is finance, we have been talking about that. But next generation services, they believe will come from IPv6 platform, and they are betting a big way on it, right? In our case, people are still little bit careful about going there, but we don't have any more addresses, so we have to move there, right? So I'm not taking all this, you know various things, and I don't want to miss out M2M because it's a theme, M2M. I'm going to talk a little more about M2M in the next few slides, and I think the report was very eloquent. It mentioned a lot of things that I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to skip through this a little more quickly. So first of all, I just want to clarify here difference between M2M and enterprise mobility, because I think generally people confuse between the two, right? So enterprise mobility is where a human being is involved. So a human being with a mobile is interfacing to an ERP application in the backend, supply chain, HR, finance, and all those things, right? So that is generally defined as enterprise mobility. When we talk about M2M, human being need not be involved, right? It's machines talking to machines, right? So smart grids, or there's another example which we have implemented with Mahindra Autos. So I'm sure you have seen XUV 500, right? I'm still waiting to get it. Not easily available, right? And you can't, even being part of Mahindra Group, you can't pull that kind of influence to get cars out of lot, right? You're going to wait in queue. So it has got onboard computer. The thing is, you drive into a maintenance shop, and it automatically conveys all the statistics, everything remotely to the computer of the maintenance guy. And already before you open the engine and hood, everything is available to you as to what needs to be done. Okay? So that is M2M. Human being is not involved, right? So you have basically what is driving it. You got hardware cost declining, making it easier to kind of manufacture all these devices that go into homes, into autos, into trucks, and anywhere and everywhere, right? Or meters for that matter. Service cost declining, coverage everywhere. In fact, coverage everywhere is what killed the satellite guys, okay? Because I was privileged to see some business, because I used to work with Reliance that time, and everybody came to Reliance saying, create a joint venture, right? So I saw business cases of a lot of those folks. They were assuming $3 a minute charges, okay? And this was backed by the biggest firms, consulting firms, right? Those business cases. Question is, when you think on the ground level, who will pay $3 a minute? Okay? Nobody. And immediately after that, in those days, cellular was not really that ubiquitous. It was there in all the metros, but not all over India. But immediately after that, the cellular went through a complete expansion, and there was no need for satellite anymore, except on the oil rigs and on the mountains. When you go to Everest, maybe you can carry a satellite phone, right? But that will not give you the business case. The business case is based on everybody using it, most of the people using it, and paying $3 a minute. Doesn't work. So you got to step back from. I'm not completely skeptical. All these projections are required to make business cases, but stand back, look at the reality, right? So these numbers are for guiding, they're not necessarily truth. Okay? So you got 50 billion machines and 7 billion people. So while mobility will address only 7 billion, the M2M will address 50 billion. So there's a huge potential here, no doubt about it. Okay? And the forecast is up to 400 million connections by 2016, and by one of the research entities. And what are the segments? I think somebody spoke about it. Again, transport, vehicle tracking, logistics, connected vehicles, healthcare, and energy and utilities. Biggest segment that will use this. What is the breakup? So here is another data point. By 2010, you'll have 2020, you'll have about 2.1 billion devices, right? The maximum device will be used in utilities, followed by security. Then you have transport, automotive and transport, and then you have healthcare and a bit of government and all that other verticals, right? So utilities is going to actually consume most of the devices, and that is almost true because you have smart grids really blowing up everywhere, including India, right? In spite of our problems, we are trying to look at smart grids. So that's where most of the things are going to get consumed. And these are some of the industrial applications, building automations, big way. Green buildings cannot work without M2M, okay? Smart grid applications, industrial automation, everything actually at the ground level is M2M. And it has been in existence many years ago, right? It's just catching more, I would say, momentum as we speak because of the devices, because of the connectivity, and because of the technology, right? But primarily, if you don't think of all these connections, device, networks, applications, you actually will not have a successful business story cutting across the entire thing. So there's no point in just focusing on the technology part and say, oh, 3G, oh, 4G, and get excited about it, because it will not get you anywhere, right? You got to think of how it's going to be used. You got to think of what are the real benefits to the user segments. There are different user segments, right? I today may not be that, wanting to download all these clips and all that stuff. I don't like to watch all these things. Right? I still like to read books, real books, where I can curl the pages and fold the pages and all that, which I believe you can do on Kindle and all that. But I still like to do that. But my daughter is completely different, right? It's a different generation. You guys are different generation. So you need to address requirements of different segments and be able to cater to those segments with the technology that is available. So unless you do all that, your technology is bound to be a failure. So don't focus on technology as technology, right? What is it getting used for, and what is it giving you? Are users willing to pay for it? So this is the last slide. I just wanted to show that video. It's a 4-minute video. Now, just one caution, I couldn't edit the video to make it really appropriate. There is a bit of sales pitch in there. It was developed by Mahindra SITM. And you know that Mahindra SITM Tech Mahindra is almost one company, right? It's only a matter of a bit of 4 or 5 months when we actually become one company, but we are operating like one company. So we work together on this application. It's an emergency response system actually implemented in Andhra Pradesh and 20 other states, okay? So it's worth seeing it as to how the entire NMAX is getting implemented and what does it give you. Okay? It's basically a healthcare kind of application. Can you?
Emergencies are always unexpected and threaten life, health, property, order, and routine. Be it medical emergencies, fire accidents, terrorist attacks, road accidents, earthquakes, floods, or any other emergency, the critical measures in an emergency response are reaching the victim in minutes, providing care within the first 60 minutes, also called the golden hour, coordination with multiple agencies such as hospitals, police, and fire departments, adherence to local procedures and laws, documentation, and trained personnel. Any emergency response system actively needs to address process and technology challenges, facilitating three critical elements: sense, involving emergency call taking; reach, initiating vehicle dispatch to the incident site as soon as possible; and care, providing emergency care at site and while in transit to the hospital. Mahindra Satyam is a pioneer in implementing technology-aided emergency management solution, EMS, in 11 states of India. As the exclusive IT solution provider, Mahindra Satyam leverages its core trained and domain expertise in process engineering, system integration, healthcare, telecom, infrastructure management services, engineering design, and BPO. This pioneering initiative showcases a complex, seamlessly coordinated, and integrated response solution which automates the activities of a contact center, ambulance dispatch, tracking and monitoring, and assists patient care processes, also called virtual hand-holding. Mahindra Satyam's EMS has been designed and developed by a team of healthcare experts comprising of emergency doctors, nurses, paramedic staff, hospital administrators, and IT solution architects. As a part of turnkey model, we conduct due diligence, provide roadmap, and implement emergency response solutions designed and developed to address the unique requirements of the country or region. With several emergencies also requiring services from fire and police departments, the solution integrates with the fire and police systems of the region. The EMS seamlessly integrates several solution components including computer telephony, voice logger system, geographical information system GIS, global positioning system GPS, automatic vehicle location tracking system AVLT, fleet management system, and mobile communication. State-of-the-art ambulances equipped with life-saving instruments such as ventilator, defibrillator, multimodal monitor, different types of stretchers and equipments assist in providing emergency care. Mahindra Satyam's integrated engineering services design and custom build the ambulance interiors based on the geography-specific requirements and type of vehicles available in the region. Mahindra Satyam's emergency response system has become a feasible, possible, and replicable technological intervention that the beneficiaries have come to consider invaluable. The system currently handles 200,000 calls daily, covers a population of 413 million plus, and attends to 24,000 emergencies per day. When it is a question of saving lives, real-life experience helps.
Thank you for your patience. I hope that it has brought about a real life. It's working, it's implemented, we are managing it, we are running it, includes networks, mobility, the whole NMAX story, right? And also it is not delivered by one particular group, it's across the group. And that's how you solve business problems, right? And that's where you are looking at approaching our customers, both enterprise and consumer segments, through a combination of multiple pillars, if you will, right? To make sure that we put together a solution that solves a particular business problem. Customer doesn't need to know who actually did it, right? Whether it's the network stuff or the management or BPO or doesn't care, right? You have to put together an entire solution that solves. And this actually is a fantastic example. So I just wanted to show you, implemented in India, with the Indian technologies, with the Indian networks, and everything here, right? And works. Thank you. Any questions? People are waiting for lunch. I think we are well into lunch hour, so if if you want, we can take it later, or if there are a few questions, we can take it right now. No questions? I don't see any hands up there. So either it was very bad, nobody is interested, or there is one question. So let me take that one question.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Rohini Kavade, second year student from Systems and Finance. Sir, as so much of investments are being done into NGN and a lot more is planned in the future as well, what do you think would be the effect on the pricing of the services being offered? As you know, India is one of the most competitive markets. Also, do you think there is sufficient demand in the market so that we could compensate the large investments that are being made?
Good question. And operators will not invest unless they see a business case. Okay? I mean, they have burned their hands on 3G world over, right? They committed huge license fees and rolled out the networks, but so Hush 3G, for example, in UK, rolled out a huge network on 3G technology, paid a huge license fee, but finally they had to step back and offer pure voice services at almost similar rates, just to get some money out of it, right? So it is one thing you have to see whether the users are willing to pay for the service that you can envisage or, invent or innovate on LTE that you're rolling out. And I believe there is definitely like this, right? It will be great when you are in the ambulance. In the current network state, it's a big problem. You can't have that much of data transfer going back and forth, right? So if you want on-the-field help from a doctor who is sitting remotely somewhere in the hospital, right, you do need LTE like broadband, wireless broadband, and reliable technology, right? So there are definite applications that will be enabled through the technology used. Only thing is, see, operators should not be dumb pipes, right? They shouldn't be just looking at setting the networks and then hoping that something will happen, right? They got to get the ecosystem together of application developers, of service providers like IT providers, as well as service providers like emergency systems and healthcare and everything together, and actually form an ecosystem and take them together to this, right? And that is, in my opinion, taking a little bit more time, especially for the Indian operators. I'm seeing it happen in the West. So AT&T's got a huge developer program, and they are actually going big on this entire end-to-end space in terms of building management systems and the automotive systems and all that. So operators need to change the way they actually approach this entire technology space and not just look at technology in an isolated manner. But it will happen. They will not invest. They've become very prudent now, so they will not invest without making sure there's a business case, and they will get revenues from it.
Thank you, sir.
I hope I answered it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anything? Or we can discuss later too. You can send me emails or you can call. I'm always available. Yeah. Thank you. No, there is one. Last. Yeah, last one.
Good afternoon, sir. So my name is Shashwat Sinha, second year Systems and Finance. My question is regarding the quality. When we are taking the NGN, the complexities and so many things are there, taking the Indian scenario, what are the issues in the quality? Like taking an example of VoIP. What are the quality issues the companies are facing?
Actually, I don't see any issues in quality as such. It's all a question of your will, right? Whether you want to do something right or not, okay? And it's finding the right partner to do it right. So I agree, today's voice quality is absolutely pathetic. So as a user, I am very, very unhappy, okay? I remember carrying a business call from Bombay Airport to Fort, distance of 30 kilometers. Many years ago, I didn't drop it even once. Today, I know which bridge, under which, and over which bridge it will drop, right? And you all know, around the corner it will drop. I know exactly where it will drop, right? So I cannot carry a business call today for a few hundred meters. I have to stop, finish the call, and then go. So obviously, quality is not there. So when you talk about LTE, when you talk about such critical applications, I think quality of service is a huge focus area, and LTE, being a VoIP technology, actually provides levels of quality of service where the charges could be different, right? So all that ecosystem needs to evolve and cater to different applications, criticality of the applications, and make sure quality is aligned with the kind of application or criticality of the application that is there. Hope I answered it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, and we'll connect later. Time for lunch.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful session. I now invite my colleague to felicitate sir with a memento as a token of our gratitude and appreciation. Thank you, sir. May I now request sir to kindly take his seat amongst the audience.